Jumped into Splatoon 3 in quite a while. This will be interesting. Commentators for the show, I mean, when you turn on the game, there's always Shiver and there's Big Man. And they tend to show you what events are going on in the game. There's always a Salmon Run that's going on. And they'll show you what mission, what is going on from what time to what time, on which days. Because Grisco is hiring if you want to help clean up the Salmonid mess. If you get more golden eggs, you get fancier rewards. The promise of a fancy gift is quite motivating. And they always show you new seasons that are on. In this case, the current season is for 3 months from February 28th through May 31st. Every now and then there are updates to the game. New weapons get released. In the Splatlands collection update, there's a new splatter shot, the Glamours splatter shot, the 0.96 gal, that is Claws 96 gal, Colors, Arrow Spray, Glitters, L3 Nozzle Nose, and Horns Bread Ringer. We've got a Stars Dynamo Roller, a Planets Big Swig Roller. Rollers were kind of an interesting, starting point for these. Torrance Hydra Splatlings, Twinkle Splat Dualies, Dualie Squelchers, Patterns Undercover Brella, Gleams Blaster, Comets Octobrush, Bulbs Tri-Stringer, and Stickers Splatana Stamper. And then we've got more stuff that came out. The Splash-O-Matic GCK0 or O, Splattershot Pro FRZN-N, Jet Squelcher COB-R, H-3 Nozzle Nose VIP-R, Slosher Ash-N, Carbon Roller ANG, L Splat Charger Camo, Splash Scope Camo, Mini Splatling RTL-R, Dapple Doolies Nas T. I have not played this game in a long time. Tentambrella Seriama, etc. There's just a lot. Rapid Blaster Pro WMTR, Paintbrush BRNZ, Reflux 450 MILK, Splatana Wiper RUS-T. They eventually added Urchin Underpass in the previous game. Current battle stages: Brine Water Springs, regular battle Turf War, Museum del Onzino, Turf War, Anarchy Battles, the new ranked battle series, Clam Blitz and Tower Control are going. Hagglefish Market and Mincemeat Metalworks are new levels in Splatoon 3. Humpback, Pump Track, and Wahoo World are ones that return from Splatoon 2. Get banners and catalog things. Previous. So the things that show up, there are multiple modes. There is the lobby is kind of your main area. You can talk to different. Actually, the city is your main mode, I should say. In the city, you're able to just talk to people that are in the community, and they have drawings and various things, and it'd be kind of neat. Um, it's also going to show you um, a few things. Sea snails, which can allow you to change move sets and whatnot. Coins to buy weapons. Your level in the game, which in this case is 19. And your rank for the season, which starts out as C minus and goes all the way up. If you go, so there are a few buttons. Your left control stick moves your character. B allows you to jump. Pressing the ZR button is what you use to fire, basically. If you have the ZL button, you will be swimming in ink. You can shoot ink using the ZR button. The Y button is going to center your character again, so whichever way it's facing, it's going to tilt to that. The other thing is with any kind of Joy-Cons, or even with a Switch 1 or 2 controller, you can actually tilt it. It's gyroscope based, so you're able to move that around. And then if you go and press there are a few things. One, if you press the plus button, it's going to take you to what gear you have. Weapons, headgear, clothes, shoes, and whatnot. Weapons, you're going to be able to look up what weapons you have. There are a few options you can kind of start out with. But if you press the ZL button, it's going to show you which weapons you have and basically what subs and specials you have with it. So in my case, let's look at the ones I started with. There's an Aerospray MG, which doesn't have much of a range, doesn't do a lot of damage, has a fire rate that is pretty crazy. Basically, it can lay down ink very quickly, and it can be useful in a mode like Turf War, which is the standard battle mode in the game. Then we have weapons like a Tri-Slosher, not a lot of range, does a lot of damage, uses a lot of ink every time, pretty good handling. The 52 gal, for example, is can be something that has good range and good damage, fires pretty slowly. And then you've got octo brushes, for example. Ink brushes and octo brushes tend to have little range. Inks pretty quickly, handles pretty quickly. So you get variety, right? Splatter shots are kind of balanced in range, damage, and fire rate. Sloshers are kind of like Tri-Sloshers, but they have a longer range and more damage. They don't handle quite as well. They're basically paint buckets. Splattershot Pro is kind of like a longer range version of the Splattershot. More range, more damage, less fire rate. NZAP 85, kind of similar kind of mindset, but it is more focused on a stronger fire rate than the splatter shots. Rollers are just kind of fun. You're just like painting the ground essentially, but you can also flick it and have it hit from a distance, so it makes that kind of interesting. Splatter shot juniors are kind of like a splatter shot, but with more fire rate, less of a range and damage. Those are kind of some of the more common weapons. There are some other ones like chargers, which are basically your sniper rifles. Really requires you to zoom in and fire. Headgear. You can basically use anything. Run and swim speed up tend to be really good things that boost. The other things, Ink resistance up can also be pretty useful. The other ones I would say not quite as useful. Quick super jump can be if you want to jump back to the battlefield, but normally in the middle of fighting, you may want to swim away or swim around quickly. It's gonna speed is a big thing. Running resistance up can be useful too in the middle of firefights. And certain gear can allow you to roll for 3 more bonuses. Those are generally the best ones. For example, these circle shades, I can roll for 3 more bonuses. Those sea snails are going to be useful for that purpose. And you get sea snails by playing through and, Splatfest and going up levels whenever there's a Splatfest challenge. Same thing really with the clothes and the shoes. Your ideal things are honestly often going to be things like swim speed up or ink resistance up, that sort of thing. Often best to level up something that is going to be, speed related or ink resistance related. Other things can have normal uses. They can still be an advantage, but the other, it allows you to switch, setups if you want to. You can even save your setups to an amiibo if you wanted to bring it to another switch or switch to. Alterna, the Shoal, and Grizzco have other things, but let's go to the shop next. So we're still on the map mode. Actually, let me go further, explain other things. This is options. Status is basically a quick look at various things in terms of your gear, your weapons and gear, your level and rank, which you can also see in the city. Your season catalog level, all these kind of abilities you have, they're all ability chunks that you can use. But like I say, run speed up, swim speed up are generally going to be top ones. Ink Saver can sometimes be useful. Special Charger, other things, respawns. Quick super jump, if you get knocked out a lot. If you don't get knocked out a lot, that's not going to play much of a role. And then there's these opening gambit last ditch effort ones are very first or second. Opening gambit could get you to the middle quickly, but you'd have to hold essentially. The others are just stealth jump can be kind of interesting in that it hides your landing point from different distant players. And then there's table turf battle, which is kind of a fun mode because it's a card game, kind of. You can play it and collect cards. Fun little mode. Going back to stages, that's just going to show in the menu what is going on currently. Regular battle, which levels are going to rotate. They always rotate levels really every 2 hours. We've got Clam Blitz currently going on. Clam Blitz is kind of like almost a little like some mix of basketball, football kind of mode where you're just trying to score points in the other's hoop. Tower control, you're basically riding a moving tower from one destination to your opponent's side and then moves quicker if you've already covered an area before. There's now, a challenge mode. There's series and open, which does make things interesting because sometimes, you can play with random teams or with teammates that you already know. And Salmon Run is a cooperative mode where you're just trying to take out bosses of different, specs. The shops. Can give you some interesting items, weapon choices, and so for example, the Sheldon is going to be the one selling weapons, and he's going to explain all these sorts of weapons to you. For example, a custom Splattershot Jr. is like a Splattershot Jr. Has a torpedo sub weapon and a wave breaker special. And that loadout allows you to seek out and exploit your opponent's positions to maximize your team's advantage. The Crack-On Splat Roller is a return weapon from the original games. You can drop a squid beacon to call your teammates. If you drop it off, they can spawn to that location. So then they can just you can invite them to land on the luxurious carpet of the ink you've laid down. The Kraken Royale is a special allowing you to bulldoze your way as a giant octopus or a squid and just crush opponents. Splattershot Nova is a variation of the Splattershot. It's more of a distance weapon. Point sensors are kind of interesting. Like if you point it at a location, it telegraphs opponents' moves to your team. So it just tracks it for you, basically. Killer Whale Special is included. The Killer Whale kind of hits on a distance. It just fires off, in a particular, it can knock out multiple opponents because it just fires off almost like a bit like a missile that just kind of goes in the direction you're facing. The Custom Blaster is the next one to showing it. It has the point sensor to mark your enemies. Triple Splashdown is kind of fun. Basically, Splashdown obviously happens 3 times, but you kind of go to your opponent, you press the special, and then you slam. It's like a melee move. It splashes anything that's around you. Z plus F splat charges is another weapon. These splat charges generally are snipers. You have to load up from a distance. You want to have high ground, and you want to be far from your opponent so you don't get snuck up on, but you want to be close enough to hit. So you generally want to take high ground, and you got to be pretty decent at aiming. The splash wall is kind of fun in that it does allow you to take cover while the main weapon charges up because no one can get past the splash wall. The triple ink strike special, I mean, you're just firing off. It's like a missile in a different way. And that it hits like particular locations rather than the direction. The Gleam's blaster is, I mean, it's a blaster, right? So, the squid beacon crab tanks are kind of, unlike splashdowns, you kind of can keep moving. They don't hit like the range right next to you, but they will you can kind of go and crush shields and things like that. Octobrush Novu, Nouveau. These octobrushes generally are very close range weapons, but they hit hard when you're very close. They're just melee weapons. You've got to be very close. You can't really flick those very far, very short range, very strong within that range. Inkstorm Special, you basically drop it on an area, it keeps dropping ink for a while, so it can allow you to hold position or whatnot. The Tentatek Splatter Shot was always a classic in the original games. Splash Bombs are kind of like your grenades in a sense. In other games, you just drop it and then it explodes. You throw it at distance. Triple Ink Strike special is kind of the same idea. Splat Charger Camo has a sprinkler sub to lure enemies out of hiding. Crab Tank specials obviously can just push. And Parry Splat Dualies. Splat Dualies are kind of interesting because you can fire off. You basically have 2 weapons instead of 1. You fire left, you fire right. You can roll back and forth between left and right. And the loadout's interesting because you can follow behind a curling bomb and close gap to your enemies before unloading. And it also has that triple splashdown. You can super jump, knock everything next to you. There's a Rapid Blaster Deco. It's a cool deck-raid version. Is that torpedo sub? Um, since it has kind of a low attack power, it kind of gives you torpedo subs are kind of like sort of missile-ish, but it doesn't have that kind of range. Ink jets basically make you a bit vulnerable, but you can fly over the battlefield and hit from a distance. There's a Splatana wiper deco. Splatana wipers are well, they're like wipers, so it's an interesting kind of weapon, kind of lowered, kind of a closer kind of weapon. That's Squid Beacon again. Tenta missiles can fire off from a real distance. It can scope out enemies. Again, you just have to face the direction and fire it off. NZAP 89 was a classic weapon. NZAP 85s generally, they're higher firing range, lower attack. Auto bombs are kind of fun. It's like sending like a dog or something at, it'll go sniff around, and for a brief moment you have like another like ally that kind of can push someone out of a zone or trap them while you do that. And then there is if they camp near a super jump spot, you can hit them with the super chump. That's a really new special. You'll fire off decoys, but they're actually ticking ink bombs that will explode within a few seconds. There's also new Squiffers. Kind of fire off from further distance. They have the auto bombs as well, so the opponents cannot hide or they can be trapped. The Zipcaster special is relatively new to Splatoon. You can charge them while you're in the air and splat them before they can blink. Comet's Octobrush is another Octobrush variant. This one is obviously good in close combat, but it has an auto bomb to push foes out of an area because it will always move someone out of the area that they're in. And then the Kraken Royale is going to do pretty good in terms of aggressiveness. The Inkline Tri-Stringer. Tri-Stringers generally kind of hit from more of a distance, but you can lure them out, you can charge them out, and hit them with Sprinkler. Sprinkler, I mean, you can put in like a splat zone or something. It's going to gradually ink an area, which makes it a pretty interesting sub. But not necessarily does a lot of damage. It's more of a zone control kind of sub than more than an attacker per se. And then you've got the Super Chump Decoy. And there's a Glamour's Splatter Shot. These variants tend to have different subs and specials. There's a Burst Bomb sub, which is kind of like the grenades, but it just lands a little differently than the Splat Bombs. And then it also has the Kraken Royale special. There's the Anarchy, A-N-N-A-K-I Splash Shot Nova. Eight mine subs. You can watch opponents flounder while teammates take him out or fire up the Inkjet special, and then you fly above to fire from a distance. Definitely an area protection kind of set. The Slosher Deco has an angle shooter sub, so you can tag your enemies to splat by your teammates. So more of a team focus sub there. There's also a Zipcaster. You can rain down ink from higher ground. And there's also a Reef Lux LUX 450 Deco. has that splash wall. You can snipe far off foes with fully charged shots because you have the wall kind of protecting you for a bit. And then they have a reef slider special, allowing you to push the front line. The Neo Splooshomatic. The Sploosiomatics generally are closer range shots for more attack. You just have jump points with the Squid Beacon, and you can use the Killer Whale which really just fires off on a distance. Splatlings, generally. Heavy edit Splatlings. Splatlings kind of fire off all at once. They have a fire rate, and then they kind of pause, you know. No one shot hits particularly hard with Splatlings, but, you know, they have a good fire rate for a little bit. Like, they'll fire for a bit, then pause, and then they'll fire for a bit. Curling bombs are a different kind of bomb. It kind of goes straight rather than your splat bombs and burst bombs. Tacticooler specials certainly are going to help you glide through with a speed burst. Umbrellas are kind of interesting because they have a shield. The umbrella itself is a shield. You fire and then you can protect yourself. This is a recycled umbrella 24 MK1 or MKI. It has like a sturdy canopy. The umbrella is itself a defense. It can be quick to launch, travels at a good clip when fired. You have an angle shooter sub with that, and a big bubbler special with it. So this kind of umbrella is a little different because you launch the umbrella, the canopy, rather than hiding behind it, so it's a little bit different. Tri-stringers. The bulb's tri-stringer is kind of similar in terms of stringers. It shoots 3 blasts of ink. This comes with an angle shooter sub to mark opponents, and then you have an inkjet to fly over, and you can push opponents back from up high. Although anything that's up high also means you're just in the middle of the sky, so that has its weaknesses too, even if you can hover over the battlefield. The 52 gal deco. The 52 gal is like a standard. I mean, it's a standard weapon. Good high attack power, low fire rate. It's always been that way. 96 gal is kind of a more extreme version of it, but it's kind of the same idea. Pretty solidly balanced weapon. They've got a curling bomb here, one of those. I mean, imagine how curling works on ice. It just goes straight. It'll get you from point A to B. You can even use the curling bomb and ride the ink up forward. There's also a splatter color screen, Sanfo scattering. You've got Snipe Rider 5H. That's obviously a charger. It's a charger style weapon that can fire shots in quick succession, so it's a little faster of a charger. You can hold down ZR to charge, then release to fire. And then you just press it to fire again. You can fire like 5 shots on a single charge, which is unusual for a charger. Each shot is a bit less powerful than some chargers, and you can't store a charge, so you may have to hit more than once. But this one does come with a sprinkler. Again, zone control for coverage. Tacticooler helps you power up your allies. A paintbrush is a brush that basically hits for a little more range and power. Each swing is a bit slower, and brushes tend to be fairly quick. They'll fly across the map. You use curling bombs to even ride those and go faster, because you can just ride brushes generally to speed up on the battlefield faster than basically like just about any other weapon. This one has a wave breaker special, which lights up enemies. And then you also have a Splatana Wipe RUS-T. It has curling bombs, again, allowing you to quickly advance, because it just goes straight. And then there's also a Trizuka special. The Zukas generally are kind of fun because you just fire it on a distance and boom, boom, boom. Jet Squelchers are kind of long distance weapons that are charger-like, but they're not quite chargers. They have boosted pump pressure, not a lot of power, but angle shooters will add some power on the sub side, and then you use Ink Vac to suck up incoming offensives. That's the special. Z plus F splatter scopes. Splatter scopes are always one of those chargers. You can see a little further. It has a scope. It's good for people who are just good at aiming from a distance. Classic sniper weapon. You also have Splash Wall to protect. A triple Ink Strike can also keep others away a bit. A Dread Ringer is kind of a new type of slosher. Actually fires 2 bursts of ink at once rather than 1. So there's a slight delay before the second. So you can fire straight ahead and hope for a powerful direct hit, or sweep the nozzles horizontally to attack or ink a wider area. It comes with a sub of suction bombs, which are a different kind of bomb. You can actually attach it to a wall or something and have to explode off that. So it's a little different than those other bombs that have to land on a spot. Reef Slider special. Double Slosh is kind of interesting. Heavy Splatling Deco. Again, it's a Splatling, but it comes with a point sensor to pinpoint a target. Kraken Royale. Yeah, it's kind of like the octopus. You can just run and smack opponents melee style. Twinkle's Splat Dualies are already a flashy weapon. They've got the Fizzy Bomb sub-weapon, which you can send them running. You can dodge roll into that. The Big Bubbler is a defensive special to secure key points of the map, allowing you to plot moves 1 or even 2 steps ahead. There's also a Custom Range Blaster. It's a customized version of the Range Blaster, but it has splat bombs. Again, grenade-like weapons to pin down the enemy. And then it also has that Kraken Royale, hit melee style. The Inkbrush Novu just has a different set. It has ink mines instead. And the Ultra Stamp is just a funny weapon. You have hold this giant stamp, and you can just stamp your opponent's melee style and just splat them. You just stamp them, and then they get splatted, which is a knockout, a KO in this game. Splatana Stamper, Splatana weapon, basically. Takes a little longer charge than the Splatana Wiper. It does have a wider, powerful spray of ink. You can fire it off and follow it quickly with a horizontal splash or burst bombs. Burst bombs kind of just hit, right? They don't stay, they don't pause. With other, like, splat bombs, for example, they'll pause, they won't explode right away. Burst bombs kind of do. You also got this Zip Caster special. Splash-O-Matic is another classic main weapon. It's fine-tuned for highly accurate barrages. Doesn't have the ink spread or raw powers to other weapons, but it has a rapid fire. It can hit pretty fast. It has those burst bombs, which you can just hit, it's quick. And then you've got crab tanks that can just run them over melee style. Big Squig rollers are still rollers. It's a wider one. So you can run over opponents. which really only happens at a beginner level. But at a higher level, you can still swing it. You do horizontal swings for a wider range, vertical swings to launch further. Their attack power is a little slower because um, the attack is not as concentrated in one spot. You can hide behind a splash wall with the sub, and then you'd guzzle enemy ink with the ink vac special. Custom dually squelchers. They have the squid beacon sub weapon, which, I mean, it's good to put in like choice spots where your team won't be as likely to hit, or like in a high spot or whatever, and then they can just spawn in that location where the squid beacon is. And then the super chump can draw in enemies. The tent umbrella is a big umbrella. It's a more defensive setup. Squid beacon allows you to put again spawn spots. And then you can bring major ink power with an ink vac. Basically a clear team player kind of setup there. The paintbrush, Novu. The point sensor sub marking enemies, making it easier to glide up and splat them with a brush. Then you've got tenta missiles that fire off at a particular location. Like basically, if you face a particular direction, then you can fire it off. You can see how many enemies you're firing it off at. Next up, is a Reflux 450 MILK. It is a little tri-stringer-like. It has that torpedo sub, which can sniff out opponent locations, and then you can mop them up with one of those charger-like shots. Booyah bombs are a special. And then the 96 gal we talked about a little earlier. It is a long-range, high-attack, low fire rate kind of weapon. You have to make each shot count, but it's not like a charger. You know, you can get a few more shots off than you would with a charger. You have a sprinkler to secure turf. Ink vac, sucks up things. Gold dynamo roller. I mean, the dynamo roller itself can kind of hit for more range than your normal rollers. So it has more firepower, more range. There's the splat bombs that kind of land. Super chumps can distract enemies. Just pure, the super chump, very much an offensive special. There's also a splatter scope camo, which is a spin-off of the splat charger camo with a long-range scope. This scope, you can't store your charge. Your field of vision does narrow while you're charging, but it also means that if you aim right, you aim right. Sprinkler sub is a coverage one. Crab tank is your melee one. Kind of scary to see a crab tank running at you. Just want to get out of the way. Tri-slosher Novu. The tri-sloshers tend to be a little more versatile than your normal sloshers. They fire slower, but they're more, you're just a bit more mobile, and they fire off faster. Fizzy bombs can allow you to close the distance between you and your opponents quickly, which is useful for any kind of slosher weapon. The tactic cooler allows you to kind of glide around the map, like a manta ray with rocket boosters. So it has good ink coverage. Next up, we've got a heavy edit Splatling Novu. It's the same specs as the other, has that splat bomb sub. Splat bombs can always clear out foes behind walls on high perches. It's a control one. Crab tanks can always rain down shots and cannon fire. Then you've got the Hoofs Dually Squelchers. Dually Squelchers are kind of an interesting thing because it's a mix of both dualies and squelchers. You can kind of, juke a little bit back and forth, but it hits for more distance. There's a point sensor sub and a splatter shot screen special. It limits your opponent's ability to submerge. More of a push kind of weapon. Dark Tetra Dualies feature 4 ink ejecting nozzles that allow you to execute up to 4 dodge rolls in a row. I mean, that's a lot of dodge rolls. So that juking thing I mentioned, I mean, that's a lot. You can shoot while rolling, so you can just zip, zip, zip around. It's a very unique play style to have a dually set up. Auto bombs. It comes with auto bombs, which again will chase down your opponent for a moment. To lure opponents out of hiding spots, and then you can hit them. They get away. You can hunt them down with the reef slider, which hits for more distance. The Aerospray RG is another weapon. Aerospray MG. I mean, these are machine guns, right? So you can just keep firing them over and over. They have a long loadout. But the RG has a sprinkler sub. Again, covers an area with ink for a little bit. And then Booyah bombs can kind of push. The Stars Dynamo Roller is a different kind of Dynamo Roller. Just with, a different sub and special. It has the point sensor and the Killer Whale to nail down enemy locations. The Big Swig Roller Express has the Angle Shooter sub. Angle Shooter makes it easy to tag enemies and take a sip of their health bar while you're at it. You can also fire off an Ink Storm special. Ink Storms are kind of interesting because they're kind of like they ink a particular spot, but they keep moving. They kind of chase the other team down. So it's not one spot, unlike some of the other inking ones. It keeps moving a little bit. The E-Liter 4K is a classic weapon from the old games. Very long range. It's one of the longest range chargers. You can use ink mines for opponents who get too close because you can't really hit anything too close when you have a charger. You can use a Wave Breaker special to reveal those who are slinking around in the ink. It's long range accuracy. For those who are just good at chargers, you can hit from far. It's a classically strong weapon. The Dread Ringer D. I mean, the Dread Ringer, this one has a Wave Breaker special, which puts a target on enemies' backs. You can call in your allies with a Squid Beacon sub. Again, gives you your allies spawn spots if you put them in opportune locations and they don't get destroyed. The Undercover Umbrella is a stealth splatting kind of thing. You can even fire when the canopy is open. Use the Ink Mine sub. Ink Mines can help you scope opponent positions before sneaking in. And then you've got that Reef Slider, which is not stealthy at all, but, And we've got a Paintbrush BRN-Z. Has a Splash Wall sub-weapon to stake out a safe spot. Trizuka specials always add that rage and power. The Colors Aerospray is an Aerospray with a different look to it. It has burst bombs instead, and it has a splatter color screen. The L3 Nozzle Nose D is a more it's a kind of unique-ish weapon. Playstyle slightly different, but it's in the NZAP kind of category of weapons. There's burst bombs. You can weaken them a little bit for chip damage and then finish it off. And then you've got, of course, the Ultra Stamp, which sends anyone in your path running in for cover because it's... and it can also fling a bit of ink as well. The Squeezer weapon is for players who want flexibility. If you pull the trigger once, you get a single high-powered shot. But if you hold down ZR, the rate of fire goes up and it becomes an absolute turf inking machine, although it obviously is going to take more ink out of, you're going to have to get restock on ink sooner and, swim the ink to do that. You'll have a splash wall to shore up defenses, and then you have a Trizuka to hit far off enemies. Then there's also a Snipe Rider 5B. It has a splash wall for cover while you're charging up or unloading a full charge. You can use the Inkstorm special to chase away opponents. The Snipe Rider 5B can actually hit for 5 shots on a full charge, which is good for a charger in that you don't have to hit right away. It does mean it's a little weaker than your typical charger shot. The Tri-Slasher Ash-N comes with splat bombs and a splatter shot screen well instead. The Blob Lobber. Even if you've never lobbed a blob, it's not against blob law to use the blobber. Each lob fires 4 blobs. You can target an enemy, perhaps your friend Rob or an entire mob. Truly, it's a versatile weapon for every job. They have the Sprinkler sub-weapon. Again, difference between that and the Inkstorm is, Sprinkler is kind of more one spot. Inkstorm kind of chases and doesn't stay in one spot. There's the Sorella Brella. Another Brella, but this one has a different loadout. With the Auto Bomb sub. Which kind of chases opponents around, kind of like the Inkstorm in a sense. Inkjet, you can rain down ink from above. Then there's the Wellstring V, which has a wide shot spread, sending ink 5 directions at once, which is very interesting. There aren't a lot of weapons that would do that to apply pressure. But all 5 shots charged up to a certain point will hit the same target. If you keep charging, they're like ink explosives. They spread out over an even wider area, and you can just cover up a front line. There's the Auto Bomb, which can chase your foes out of an area. And then, of course, when you have that come with an Ultra Stamp, you can go full offensive. There's always headgear options. You can raise the star power of one you already own. You can trade your current gear in for something that is... Generally, you want to have... You can always add slots. Generally, it's ideal to have, for headgear, 3 slots that you can re-roll. And then there are other categories as well. You can go to clothing. You can actually switch back and forth even in the mode. Same idea with clothing though. You can press the L or R button to switch between the shops. Shoes are kind of the same thing. And then Harmony and Hotlantis. Talks about slopping spree. Can't believe I'm just going through and there are just so many updates from the last time I played. There is so much new stuff since I last opened this game. It's been years. There's new weapons, there's new, subs and specials. It's awesome. That's the thing with these updated games. So there's catalog levels. You can buy snacks and things. Let's go in. Let me actually buy a few different weapons here. We do have some interesting weapons that we just haven't touched yet. Splattershot Juniors are, kind of a classic weapon. I don't know if I even have a, because ink brushes and octo brushes are kind of fun generally. Squid beacons. You have to exchange these kind of, they're not really coins, they're like these other kind of ticket things. We can go to the lobby. That's where we play matches. Gotta make sure we're connected online. Let's swim around in the ink with the ZL and all that. You can always pick up, new stuff like DLC rewards and all that. It's been a while since I played. I don't know that I even have replays anymore. The last time I played was January 12th, 2024. And then before that was the Splatfest in November. And then before that was, looks like the April 1st, 2023 one. I mean, the game's been out for 3.5 years now. It has been a while. So the other thing, I mean, you can always pick Splatfest regions. Anarchy Battles are the new rank battle names. You just go through what is functionally like this elevator area. Let's jump into a turf battle, but let me see what weapon I want to actually use right now. Generally, turf war, I like using the arrow spray. Whoa, what just happened? Okay, entered a training area here. Alright. Turf War is inking the most turf to win. You have 3 teammates, so it's a 4-on-4. With the arrow spray, I mean, what I kind of like, generally what I like to do with these kind of games generally is, eventually you're going to have to ink all this area anyway, so what is the point, right? You want to try to take the middle on a map like this, immediately try to annoy your opponents with way too much ink. In this case, I already got knocked out, but there's always time to ink your side. Just make sure someone is inking, the stuff on your side, and truthfully, if you have an arrow spray, that's going to be probably one of your, if you have one of those high ink weapons, you should be the one probably doing the inking on your side, and otherwise, X button is what was the Wii U kind of strategy of, okay, gotta escape. Big thing is always, doing the best you can to win battles. You want to just always be in the mood. You don't want to be in one spot too much. You're gonna get wiped out. Now the problem for us here is they have a really, I haven't actually KO'd anyone yet, but even so, they're just playing very well. You just gotta be, situationally aware. Right? Are there enemies near you? Make sure, if you've got a sub getting charged up a special, use them. No. Alright. Got out. I just have to invade their territory just to try and knock them back while my team was trying to, you know, push back. The other thing is you can always jump your... I'm not even sure that's a great jump, but... you gotta sometimes take some risks. Oh, wow, that nearly got me. Okay, I got to read through. The thing is, you know, ink is not the best way to really, like... ink is not the best way to hide, but you can always hide behind objects, which I didn't do that well there, but you can always try to hide behind objects to defend. That was kind of bad. But my team, I think, just was not very good. Look at my teammate that got wiped out. No splats, got splatted 7 times. I mean, that's tough to beat. Still on this team, too. So, in between matches in Splatoon 3, it's a little different. You can kind of, like, practice. But generally, you want to be making sure, one, your bar doesn't get, like, too far below half. Because you may need that in a fight. You may need that. Okay, we are going to Umami Ruins, which is a Splatoon 3 specific kind of thing. It's a new map. It wasn't in Splatoon 1 or 2. Higher ground is often going to be better too in these kind of games. And the thing is, you want to be able to support your teammates. I'm trying to here. Yeah. So if you're able to line up specials like that, I mean, you can get a bunch of your opponents. I ran a little too close to the fire there and got splatted. But that's like a pretty good use of my okay, now I have some pretty safe jumps. I mean, generally you want to jump to one of the people that's further behind and not right on the front line, because if you're jumping right at the front line... Oh, I ran straight into that. If you jump into the front line, you probably going to get splatted immediately, so you don't really want to do that. Wow, they have trapped us here. My team is not good. Sometimes you just want to stay in the ink for a little bit. The problem with, you know, running towards chargers like that is you get splatted by chargers. I am I'm in a little bit of de-rusting here. But my team also isn't very good. That's kind of a problem. Like that charger's just sitting up there, like I can't even hit it. I think I'm probably gonna switch teams. There's no question that like we are just getting hit by these, like the splat charger is hitting from a distance, keeping us back. It's working. So I ink the most on the team, which is slightly alarming, to be honest. Like, look at this. So I did fine. It was just my team struggled. I guess I did get splat a bunch of times, but others got splat like that much and didn't make any progress. Probably play like one more of these and then we'll stop for the night. Generally rushing in the middle and trying to get good positioning is a helpful thing. Oh. Tenta missiles got me because like I ran back and my team was already there, so when you're swimming around in like your own ink, it gives you, I mean, you're not like completely invisible, but you are safer in your own ink. Someone used the tracker. Alright, 1-on-1 against an arrow spray, so that's a toss-up. This is a relatively, I mean, it doesn't take very long to get to the middle, which is why I haven't been doing a lot of jumps. But on a bigger map, it's like, it can be definitely beneficial to do jumps. The other thing is, you gotta also protect your allies' jumps sometimes. Since I'm an arrow spray, I'm just trying to hold back a little bit and try to get ink down. That's what my ability is strongest at. So this is close. We have a shot, but our teammates have to stay alive here. This is kind of close. Whoever controls the middle on Umami here is likely going to win. And we did pull off a 49-42 win, so that's very cool. All right, I think this is kind of a good stopping point. We did pull up a win. Look at that. Ended up getting the most ink down, but Honey Bear had a nice play there with the 7 KOs and whatnot, and that really did help quite a bit. But that's gonna be it for now. Thanks for watching.